Today, we talk finances of building a collection and getting into the hobby of ball python breeding.
Check, test, hey.
Proper Royals! Hey everybody, it's Adam from Proper Royals. Today I want to talk to you about my finances. I went from pet owner to an unrealized hobbyist to a conscious decision that I was going to jump into the breeding game. And I think that's a path that a lot of you take. And kind of the whole theme of this YouTube channel is going from hobbyist to family business. So I'm really early in that process. However, I've gotten past the pet stage. I've gotten past just the average everyday Joe hobbyist, I think. And now I'm starting to, or I already really have made some investments in a future business. So I'm kind of in the startup cost phase right now. And what I wanted to do was share some of that information with you. And the best way I could do it is sharing with you my actual financials. And I keep track of every expenditure. My first thought was maybe I could do something on my taxes with this. And the other part of it is in business, I've learned the more I measure, the more things I improve, and the more things I improve, the more money I make. Now, money's not necessarily the driving force all around, but it is a big piece of the puzzle for me and a big part of my goals. We'll talk about some of those goals today too. So, like I say, in this video, we're going to look at some actual finances and what it's going to take to go from pet owner to, a couple snakes that you're kind of really into, to it clicking one day that, man, I want to breed these things, I want to get in the game, and I want to see what I can make of myself in there. So I'm going to take you over to my computer here in just a second, and we're going to look at my actual finances. Stick around. Thanks for sticking with me today. I hope you enjoy.
My spreadsheet where I keep everything in order of all that I do. So bear with me, I'm down in the corner down here. So this spreadsheet, it's everything. It's Proper Royals Excel spreadsheet. I keep it simple. I don't do any crazy stuff in Excel, so you should be able to follow along. You can use like Google Documents, that sort of thing as well. If you don't have Excel or you don't want to buy the Microsoft license, but that's a different topic. So you got Excel or you got a way to work your spreadsheets. So today I just want to focus on these two tabs down here. If you follow along on the cursor, there's the master sheet for 2020 and then my supplies sheet. And those are all of my expenditures. Now I have a bunch of data in there as well. So let's just go line by line for a minute. So column A, we do name our snakes. That's a whole different topic. You can leave comments in the bottom if you like or dislike that. I could see that's going to be a problem when it comes to selling some of these with the family. But again, we got into it as a family hobby, so we'll cross that bridge when we get there. We enjoy naming them. They do have personalities. Column B, I have all of their genes that I'm confident of. I guess one day I'll put next to them confirmed or proven. Right now, these are the genes that they were sold to me as, and that visually I feel comfortable committing to on that. Obviously, their sex. As you can see, I've got 5 females and 4 males. We could do a whole video on suggested blend of females to male. I'm a little heavy on male, but I'll get into why I bought what I did when I did. Probably today. I mean, we'll see where today's video takes us. I have their birth date information as best as I know it. Some of them I know down to the day they were born, and some of them, like this one, Sharona, unknown. She was born in 2018. That's all that I know of her birth. And then the parents pairing, well, where I can get it. And I've got them all except my big female, Jenny. She was born in September 16th. So she's just over 4 years old now. And she is going to breed this year. But I don't know what her parents pairing was. So she's a beautiful pastel. She hasn't washed out. I know pastel is not that exciting. However, she's a fine example of that. And for my first one breeding, the price was right, and I jumped and went ahead and purchased her. So here, what we're talking about today, we'll focus the most on this. Is my price paid, and I include my shipping cost in that. Fact of the matter is that's a cost of acquiring the animal, and it's a cost of acquiring the inventory. So I include it. Tax, if I were to pay tax or shipping, shipping obviously I do pay. I have picked up a few. This one here from Brittany Chase over at Chase and Balls. I picked that up in person. She's over in Gastonia, North Carolina, if you get a chance to check her out. But I don't differentiate between cost of the animal and cost of shipping and tax. It's all an expense that I got to pay. I keep the date it arrived. No specific reason on that other than I like to. And I keep track of who I got it from. And actually I made some notes on the breeders and what I think of them and that sort of thing. And then any random notes I keep over here. So Jenny, she was paired with a leopard, firefly, het clown, possible spot nose in the prior breeding. So if I get some weird hatchlings that I don't know what the heck's going on with them, I'm going to refer back to this because it could be a case of stored sperm and that sort of thing from past pairings. So total expenditure that I've spent on 9 snakes, $2,616. I won't go too far into these details, but I am not typically in a spot to just be dropping $2,600 on really anything in my life that I don't have a plan for. I'm fortunate that I can spend that kind of money, but I better have a plan. That's beyond fun money territory for me. It might not be for you. And there was a time in my life when if you told me I had $2,600 to do anything with, I would have been amazed, much less buying ball pythons with, right? And so my average purchase price is $290.67. So typically in business, your average cost of acquisition is really, really important. In ball pythons, less so because there's so much subjective to it. So let me give you 2 examples. I've highlighted my least expensive and my most expensive. My most expensive purchase was a super lesser citrus pastel, also known as a blue-eyed leucistic, bright white snake. That's Sharona. I actually was going to have her out tonight, and I don't know if it seems to be just poo night in the rack. So I was going to take a couple out and make a video with them in the video, but frankly, they need to be cleaned. And I did clean them, and then they went again. So I said, I'm going to make the video. I'll clean them later tonight. But I paid $535 for her, okay? She was born in 2018. It's now 2020. So this is a sub-adult, nearly mature female. That's going to cost you money. She's ready to go, right? Secondly, she's a blue-eyed leucistic. It's weird. In the breeding world, they don't command a whole lot of money because you're kind of limited on what you can do with them. But man, in the pet world, they are incredibly popular. What's the first snake you see when you're starting out and you're at the reptile shows and that kind of thing? They stand out. I feel like they hold their value really well. I see them. I rarely see one under $400. So I don't think anybody's going to get rich on blue-eyed leucistics. But on the other hand, man, they hold their value and they're pretty attainable. So it was exciting for me to acquire her. She was the second snake that I owned as well. So I was probably a little more eager to spend some money and like really feel like I was jumping in and just breaking out of the pet land. So that was a little bit high. My least expensive snake that I've purchased is this a male, recent hatchling, het pied, het lav, and I've got to update that date of birth. She is not, something's not right there. This is Jethro. He's young, but he's not 12 days young. I've got to update that. There's a typo in there somewhere. Maybe August or July he was born. He's small, but he's not 12 days small. So I'll update that. Nonetheless, $155, but it gets me into the het pied, het lav project. That's the dreamsicle for those of y'all that aren't aware. And I'm pretty excited to chase that down. I'm not in a huge rush. Obviously, I'm starting with hets. Can't really, this $2,600 that I've spent for 9 snakes is what you'll spend for one female dreamsicles. So there's some trade-offs here. I got a little time on my hands. I'm not in a huge rush. I have a career. I have money coming in. I'm okay. So those are my missions, and we can talk about that in one video as well. Really, kind of what the mission of what you're doing is when it comes to ball pythons. So that is one sheet of expenditures and a little bit of talk of why I bought what I bought and when I bought it. Now, the second tab is the supplies tab. So I keep my snake inventory separate from my supplies. Again, I come from a restaurant background, so that's sort of the cost of goods versus all the supplies and direct expenses that I would have. So let's look at supplies, all right? This is all in 2020, and I don't think I put the proper context in here. This is all since March. I think I dropped the money in March, maybe April. But basically, I'm in it 7 months right now, and we're going to talk about the expenses over 7 months of what I've spent, okay? So next, I come over here to supplies, and I'm going to bring this down just a little bit because I talk with my hands some, and now we've got space on the spreadsheet. So first off, one thing to remember that I really believe in, what gets measured gets improved. Anything that you can measure, you're going to start thinking about ways that you can do it better. If you could do it better in business, usually that means that you're going to gain profitability, right? Now, you don't want to sacrifice quality and you don't want to sacrifice cleanliness, especially in the world of ball pythons or live animals. But if you can improve efficiency, if you can improve the distance that your dollar goes in expenditures, then you're going to get more money in the long run. And that could mean, again, money's not necessarily the end all, but it can lead to quicker investments. It can lead to one of my personal goals is that I want to be maxing out my 401k and my Roth IRA before I ever even think about dreaming, even allowing myself to think about something as silly as quitting my job. I need those maxed out, and I need my future looked after properly. I'm doing that out of pocket right now, but man, if I can have fun with snakes, a family hobby, and I can get doing that, then that's a huge goal. And that's kind of my 5-year benchmark. That's what I want to be doing in 5 years, all right? So what gets measured gets improved. So let's measure these things. Let's measure our expenses. So here is a list of everything that I've bought. And I think a few things initially slipped through the cracks. I really started doing this when it clicked that I was about to drop $500 on a snake. Like, that was kind of a foreign idea to me. Now it makes a whole lot of sense, of course, but that's a pretty foreign thing to start off with. So I'll go through that in a moment, but I've spent a total of $1,500 in supplies, just supplies. That's a pretty sweet snake that I have spent in supplies, right? Again, we'll go through that in a second. But let's take some measurements, some metrics here. Inventory and supplies total annual cost. Now, I've only been at this 7 months, but this will be what it cost me in 2020, and I'll continue to add to this. I know for sure, like, I'm going to have to buy some new water dishes. I'll tell you about surprises here in a minute. Annual cost, I've spent $4,123. That's this page of supplies and this page of inventory combined, yeah? Let's break that down. My cost per snake, which is 9 snakes right now, my cost per snake per year right now is $458 per snake. On one hand, that's not a whole lot to spend on a snake. In ball python world, you can spend a whole lot more than that just buying it, not even caring for it. On the other hand, my average cost was $290. So that means I've spent an extra, $170 on top of my purchase price per snake. I am spending $65.45 per month. If you look here, I've got it programmed in that I've had them for 7 months, okay? If I don't spend another penny on them this year and I just ride out this year, we got about 2.5 months left in the year. The least amount that I'll get out of this year from a startup first year and building up to 9 snakes is $45 a month per snake. And my total cost per month right now is $589 to just own and keep healthy and fed and sanitary 9 snakes. That's kind of crazy. Here's why I measure it. I'm sitting here looking at this going, man, I could get a Cadillac for less a month than I'm paying for 9 snakes right now, right? So here's what's got to happen. At some point, I have got to start long before I can dream of filling out 401ks and IRAs. I have got to start figuring out how in the world I'm going to break even. I got to recoup some of this money. Again, I'm doing okay in life, but $4,100 is $4,100, man. That's a lot of jack right there, right? So let's talk about how we got there real quick. Things that I did plan for and that I spent some extra money on. I did not buy one of the expensive ARS rack systems, which I'd like to. They look great, and again, from a sanitary hygienic standpoint, they are incredible. However, they're expensive, and I didn't have. I found an alternative that I was happy with, but I did drop the extra money to buy PVC boards. These are solid PVC boards. I could spray this whole thing down. I can sanitize this thing. I can clean this in a way that particle board or 2x4s you will never be able to clean that way. And even Melamine has that interior that's particle board. I didn't want it. I wanted a better quality system. Thermostats, rats. Man, it's $210 just to get enough rats to feed these things. And those are the frozen ones shipped to me. Then I realized that, man, I was messing around not buying enough at a time per shipping. So I increased the amount of rats that I bought at a time so I could minimize shipping expense. But then I realized I needed different size rats because I'm buying different sizes of snakes. And then I realized, man, I got 2 stubborn snakes that I can fight, but they just weren't ready to get on to rats yet. I had one that didn't eat for 3 months, man. And I know everybody says they get over them, but I'm sitting here on $4,000 of inventory fighting a snake that don't want to eat a rat. So I said, all right, man, I'm going to buy some mice and I'm going to get these girls eaten. The other thing is they're both my females. I only got 5 females, man. If 2 of them aren't eating, that's holding me up from getting out of this $4,000 debt that I got right now. And I owe it to myself. It's not sitting there on credit card or anything, but still, that's money I got to account for. I got to be responsible to myself. A few things I didn't have to spend money on. I went ahead, I saw an opportunity to buy a really good used beverage cooler that I knew I could change and DIY into an incubator really quickly. So that was cool. But I did have to go and spend that money this year. Then, one of those 9 people sent me a snake that was full of mites. Now, I quarantined it. I put it in a different room. Problem is, I got an 8-year-old. I got 2 dogs. I got a bearded dragon in the house as well. Not that it's running free, but there's a lot of action in this house. And the fact is, it's still in our home. This is still a family hobby. Kids coming in and out, my wife and I back and forth. Plus, we didn't realize that the thing had mites. I was quarantining it, but it wasn't in the snake room, but it was up in our living area. So I had to treat for mites. I got those under control. I'm fine, but I had to spend the money on that. I had to throw out all of my Reptichip, man. I didn't know where the mites were, so I threw out all of my substrate. I had to buy another batch of that. There's another 10 pounds of $32 that I had to get. You get the idea. It adds up, and you got to plan for this unexpected. So how does this improve in the future? My acquisition cost per snake is going to go way down once I start breeding. I'll be able to keep my holdbacks, 0% acquisition cost. $1 per snake comes down on the average. So that's going to be cool. And eventually I'll be upgrading my quality and bringing the cost way down as I start producing visuals out of hets. I start stacking genes that I want. Then I can be more selective in what I'm buying, and I can upgrade what I'm buying too. Supplies, a lot of these things are one-time hits that I'm not going to ever have to purchase again. The PVC boards for the rack system, this rack will hold 12 mature adults. I'll probably exceed that before too long. I mean, I'm at 9 right now, but they're not mature, and I really now have narrowed down my focus of what I'm willing to buy. I've got myself narrowed down to 3 possibilities that are going to work with these genes that I have and get me to some of my goals over here, which we'll talk more about those in another video. But I've got my plans mapped out. This isn't just winging it. This isn't just slinging $4,000 like I'm, some big baller. Man, I work hard. Restaurants no joke. I got multiple restaurants. I got a huge team. This is my release, so I want to care for this and make sure that I can make this go on. So those will come down. I'll never buy an incubator again. My sanitizer, I have enough for probably a year on that $17. That's not bad. Water dishes, man, I wish I had just spent the bigger money and gotten the nice stone flat ones. I flaked out and I don't know if you could see it, I bought some of these soup cups from my restaurant, and they were cool up to about 200 grams. Now a snake goes up to it, it flips it up. So I got to buy some more water dishes. That's going to be new. Let's see here. Heating equipment. Man, I dropped $86. When I first started, I thought, I was all optimistic. I'll keep them all in tanks. It'll be beautiful vision thing all over the house. And man, once you start cleaning those tanks, they're impossible to keep clean, to keep as hygienic as I want to. These tubs are the way to go. And man, your numbers come in line. Your husbandry is so much better on it. You're much more hygienic. I mean, your snakes are happy. They're eating. Those things eat like crazy now. Even the ones I was telling you were giving me problems. I got the mice. Boom, they're good. Honestly, on the topic of mice, and I'm just throwing stuff out off the top of my head now, but on the topic of mice, when you do the math, you can feed 3 mice for the price of 1 rat. So actually, if your snake is happier with it, try switching them down the line, but keep them fed, keep them eating. You got to keep them going. Then I wanted to get into this social media game, so I bought some lights and that sort of thing. Check this out. No light. Looks kind of cool. It's a nifty little thing. Anyhow, those are my expenses. Those are some things that I will not have to reinvest in the future. My ongoing expenses are primarily going to be mice, and if I expand my tubs, right? Sorry, I was talking earlier about setting up tanks. I don't have one to show you. If you're not using heat tape already back here, which you can't see, I see. If you're not using heat tape, you're really burning unnecessary money. I can get heat tape for this whole rack for what about 2 under tank heaters cost me. I also know how to solder, and that saved me a huge ton of money. Even on the heat tape, it made it even less expensive, because like Reptile Pro, you go there and you want to use your heat tape, but then you got to pay them to hook it up for you, or you got to buy a $50 pair of crimpers. Man, get yourself a $6 soldering iron, $5 of solder, a little bit of flux. Get in there, figure out, learn how to solder. You're going to save yourself time and money, and it's a pretty cool feeling. So I outfitted my whole incubator with heat tape for under about $10, and I think all the heat tape shipped for this whole rack is something like $30 or something. Actually, I know exactly what it is because it's right here. It's the last order I placed. It's $31.14 if you look at it. So right now I have individual heat tape heaters that I made, and as I filled up the rack, I realized it's silly to have individual ones. So then I bought 3-foot strips that I'm going to switch out, and I'll do a video on that. Probably do one with soldering individual under tank heaters of the heat tape, individual heat tape heaters per tub, and then go into one solid one. It's also going to allow me to consolidate my thermostat. So there's an overview. Leave in comments, what am I missing? What am I overspending on? Tell me what you're spending. Maybe you're leaving me in the dust on spending, but you're getting to your goals quicker. Maybe you're taking a shorter time, all right? I'm going to sign off of this computer, and I'll see you in just a second here.
Hey, thanks for going through all that with me today. I hope you learned something. I hope there was some valuable information in there. I'm happy to share what I'm doing. There's nothing proprietary here. It's just a matter of care. It's a cool community. I got a little wordy in there. Thanks for rolling with me. I think we're at like 25 minutes or something right now, all told. So if you made it this far, man, cheers to you wherever you are. Thanks for joining me at Proper Royals. If you like what you're hearing and you want to see more of these, do the like and subscribe and all of that. I hope to see you soon. And thanks again. Cheers, guys.